The social movements of the 1960s, often hailed as transformative epochs for human rights and individual freedoms, have paradoxically compromised the social standing, autonomy, and personal freedoms of men in ways that are rarely talked about. It's high time to re-examine their effects on men. We need a recalibration, a renewed perspective on men not as oppressors but as builders of culture and society, deserving of due respect, especially when considering their historical contributions. The men of the 1940s, often termed the greatest generation, were a product of unique circumstances. A world at war necessitated courage, resilience, and, above all, sacrifice. These men were not simply soldiers on the battlefields. They were also architects of a post-war era, shaping not just policy but the very fabric of American culture. Men were the providers and protectors, true, but they were also the thinkers, the innovators, the risk-takers, and their roles were regarded with respect and honor. There was a societal acknowledgement that the traits commonly associated with masculinity, strength, resilience, courage, were vital to the collective well-being. Then came the wave of liberation ideologies in the 1960s. Feminism sought equal rights for women, but as the old norms began to topple, there was a vacuum in our understanding of what masculinity ought to represent. This vacuum was swiftly filled by notions that portrayed masculinity as a form of pathology, a sort of original sin that tainted all actions by men. Women and even men themselves started to scrutinize the male identity through a lens that was at best dismissive and at worst accusatory. Terms like toxic masculinity emerged, making men self-conscious and hesitant to express what had been, until that point, considered innate attributes. The consequences have been far-reaching. In a society eager to dissect, criticize, and, in some cases, ridicule the male identity, the space for men to be men started shrinking. The very traits that were once considered virtuous were now held in suspicion. Laws, policies, and societal norms swayed so significantly towards one direction that the scales tipped. Today, the man who was once a builder, contributor, and molder of society finds himself walking on a tightrope of constantly shifting societal expectations, making him cautious to the point of paralysis. What's more, the irony of all this is that while men are increasingly marginalized, their issues are not accorded the same empathetic scrutiny. Mental health struggles among men are often dismissed or overlooked. The growing educational gap that puts boys at a disadvantage seldom makes headlines. The biases in family courts are just shrugged off as an inconvenient reality. And yet, these issues have real consequences not just for men but for society at large. Men's issues are everyone's issues, and they deserve a place at the table of social discourse. It is time we shifted the narrative. Men deserve to be seen again as builders of society. If we are to talk about equality, it must be from a vantage point that recognizes the inherent worth of men. If we truly wish to evolve as a society, we need to acknowledge men's strengths, contributions, and challenges. Men need to be given their due, not as relics of a bygone era but as authors of the present and architects of the future.
Full of rhythm and melody from Roseland Ballroom, Broadway and 51st Street, just off Times Square in New York City. Ella Fitzgerald and her famous orchestra. NBC is bringing you Jive Notes and How with Ella Fitzgerald and her famous orchestra playing at the Roseland Ballroom in New York City.
Walk it, Mickey Mouse. I will say I'm Judy.
NBC is bringing you a yellow basket full of rhythm and melody from Roseland Ballroom, Broadway and 51st Street, just off Times Square in New York City. Ella Fitzgerald and her famous orchestra. NBC is bringing you Jive Notes and How with Ella Fitzgerald and her famous orchestra playing at the Roseland Ballroom in New York City.
Walk it, Mickey Mouse. I will say I'm Judy.
NBC is bringing you a yellow basket full of rhythm and melody from Roseland Ballroom, Broadway and 51st Street, just off Times Square in New York City. Ella Fitzgerald and her famous orchestra.
Much obliged you hopped on board for this snazzy trip through American life in the 1940s and 1950s, all captured through nifty vintage photographs. If this flick's got your motor running, don't be a square. Click on that jolly bucket of bolts to subscribe to the channel for more top drawer content just like this. Thank you.